Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Startup Sense podcast. This is your host, Jonah Lufton. Thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, we're going to bring you another great episode. First, though, just as a reminder, make sure you are subscribed on iTunes or Google Play, and that way you never miss an episode. We're also on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher Radio, if that helps. So today's guest is Stephen Kuhl. He is the co-founder of a company called Burrow. The original name of the company was actually Pen and Hunt, but as we discussed in the pre-call, I think Burrow sounds a lot better. So what they are doing is they're kind of taking that direct-to-consumer approach with designer sofas at a fraction of the price. They've raised $120,000 from Y Combinator, 20,000 from Highland. So those are two different accelerator programs. Now they are currently in fundraising mode with some angel investors and hopefully closing that round pretty soon. Company is based in New York, I believe. About 7 employees, and let's talk to Stephen. Stephen, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing, John?
How was the intro? Did I cover everything correctly?
That was perfect.
Cool. So talk to us about the business, right? So designer sofas. Why are you doing this?
The idea for the company came when my co-founder Kabir and I had moved to Philadelphia to start business school at Wharton in the fall of 2015. We had to buy furniture, and couches in particular were the biggest pain point for us. Personally, I rented a truck and drove to that Swedish meatball and warehouse furniture factory and picked out a pretty low quality couch that took about 2.5 hours to assemble with an Allen wrench. And I was like, God, there's got to be something better out there to do. And Kabir, who is married and a little bit more grown up than I am, wanted something nicer. So he waited for a high-end retailer to have a sale, picked out a couch for $1,200. But they told him for the medium gray color he wanted, it would take 12 weeks to ship to his apartment. So he said, you know what, I'll just take whatever you have in stock. They had this very ugly orange color in stock, and he was like, whatever, I'll take it. And to avoid, but they told him it would take $250 to ship it and 2 weeks to ship it to his apartment 2 blocks away. So to avoid that, he just got a little cart and wheeled it home himself. And so from talking about those experiences, we were just like, God, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be somebody else out there that offers, a high quality, stylish piece of furniture at an affordable price. But there really wasn't. And so that's why we got into this. And so we just thought, how do we solve these pain points for people and do it with a better experience?
So you guys launched the business when? When did the website officially go live?
Our website went live in July, I believe it was, last year. We started the company officially in April, and we finally got around to it. And had really just had a pitch deck at that point. And then by the summertime, we had found a manufacturer that was working with us on prototyping. And then when we were out in the Bay Area with YC over the summer, they just started hammering us on take pre-orders, sell. You're going to make mistakes. You'll learn from those mistakes and get it out there.
So when you guys got into Y Combinator, you didn't have the manufacturing set up. I mean, you guys weren't producing couches yet.
No. We didn't even know we could actually even produce what we wanted to produce. So, if you want to start a mattress company, all you do is call up a foam supplier and tell them, these are the specs, and they will cut it, make the fabric, put it over it, compression seal it, roll it up in a bag, and put it in a box and ship it out for you. To do what we were doing, we had to figure out a way to reverse engineer a high-quality mid-century modern sofa to ship in compact boxes. And the reason why was because the couch packages had to fit within the dimensional weight guidelines of FedEx and UPS in order to drastically reduce shipping prices. To give you a little bit of a backstory here, the reason why high-end couches cost so much money is mostly because of shipping. They are big, bulky pieces of furniture. They can't be stacked on top of each other, and so they have to be shipped in special containers. And therefore, it costs a couple $100 to ship from a factory to a warehouse, another couple $100 from the warehouse to the retail store, and then customers are expected to pay that last mile delivery shipping fee. And so for us, the key was if we can make this couch fit into compact boxes, we can ship anywhere in the U.S. for less than $100.
Gotcha.
and that's how we offer it for so much less. And then there's other benefits from being, modular and whatnot. But so we had to go through that process, and by the time we got to YC, after we got in, we had a manufacturer lockdown, and they were prototyping with us, trying to come up with ways to actually make this thing work. It was actually fairly difficult because we want to make something that assembles really fast, really easy, with parts that are inexpensive to make, because otherwise then the price goes back up for the customers. And then it also had to be super sturdy. And so we actually ended up bringing in a couple of outside engineers who design helicopters, electronics, et cetera, to help us create the right assembly mechanism piece.
So the whole direct-to-consumer market now it's been exploding the last 5 or 10 years, when everything from Dollar Shave Club to Warby Parker to Casper, the mattress company, and obviously the complexities of furniture is way different than razors and glasses. But I mean, the concept is the same, and essentially you're cutting out the middleman, right? So you're cutting out the furniture store where I have to go in there and pay a ridiculous markup. What is that markup? Like, how much, if I walk into my local furniture store and a nice couch is there for $1,500 or $2,000, what are they buying it from the manufacturer for? Do you have any idea?
I do. They are buying it for a $2,000 couch, costs about $400 from the manufacturer.
Wow. Jeez. Huge.
If you want to know something that's funny, the same manufacturer, I won't name names, but the same manufacturer that produces for one retailer that sells it for $2,000 will make the exact same couch for another retailer that sells it for $10,000.
So
and
yeah,
you can probably guess who these types of companies are, but yeah, it's mind blowing.
I mean, I think the problem that you explained at the beginning is a problem that a lot of us have experienced, where we rent a new apartment, we buy a house, and we need furniture, and you walk into a furniture store and you're like, God, these prices are insane. Like $600 for a coffee table and $1,800 for a couch. And then, the only other alternative is to go on Craigslist and try to buy something used.
Yeah. And there's so many other problems with it too, right? Like, once you finally do pick out the couch, which, in and of itself, like you said, is painful because you have to go to the store, pick it out, and then you're like, there's 50 different shades of like gray fabric that I have to pick from, and like, which one's right? Like, I kind of like this plaid, but this one's lighter. I don't know. It becomes very overwhelming. And then when you finally do pick it out, you wait several weeks, and then you have to take a half a day or a full day off of work, and then you have to figure out a way to play like a life-size game of Tetris to even get it into your apartment. And, from talking with a lot of people in our target market, a lot of potential customers, we heard so many kind of funny, but probably not that funny at the time, when they experienced it, all these horror stories of moving furniture into their apartments. And like, there were people who were like, I bought this great couch, I was so excited for it, and then I literally could not fit it into my apartment, and I had to sell it on Craigslist for my hallway because I wouldn't fit inside.
So I have a better story than that. So when I moved to Boston, switched apartments, I had just bought 2 really, really nice, expensive leather couches right before I switched apartments, which was stupid. The moving guys could not get them into my new apartment. They couldn't pivot them because the hallway was so narrow. They couldn't pivot them enough to get them into my apartment. I had to sell them to the moving guys on the spot. And I mean, they gave me like $300, and I had spent like $2,000 because there was like, how would I even sell them? There was nowhere to even put them. Like, the apartment building didn't have any basement because it's just downtown Boston. So I had nowhere to even store them until they were sold, and I couldn't leave them in the hallway. So it was just like, okay, how much cash do you guys have on you right now? And I'll take it. Like, horrible.
It's nuts. There is such thing as a couch doctor in New York City that will saw your sofa in half and reupholster it in your home just so you can fit it there. It's nuts.
So let's go back to the business, right? So you guys launched this, you went through Y Combinator. It sounds like you took a lot of pre-orders. How did you find customers at that point? You didn't really have a product to show anybody. So how were you able to get pre-orders?
It's funny. A lot of people ask us like, did a lot of your friends and family buy? And they didn't, because the couch isn't something like, if you invent a water bottle, you can get everyone to spend $10 and buy it. But for a couch, they're like, yeah, I don't really need a couch right now, so I'm not going to give you, several $100s just to support you. So we had to test out a couple of things. One, it was just like blasting out over email, asking people to tell their friends and see if anybody knew of anyone that needed a couch. We did get a little bit of press. So TechCrunch picked up our pre-order campaign. New York Times picked up our pre-order campaign. And then people just started hearing about it. And then we also launched some Facebook ads and Instagram ads and did some testing on that. And we found that we started getting customers pretty efficiently, which we were very pleased with. And it was just about like figuring out, are the different features and benefits of our couch appeal to, I think, different subsegments of our target. And so just like figuring out who to advertise those to. So for instance, we found that, our couches have no harmful chemicals in them, and which is mind-blowing that today you still have companies that are selling furniture that could cause cancer. But our couches have no harmful chemicals in that. And we found that a lot of young parents found that really attractive. And so we would try to target them and message those features to them. And what we ended up with was a pre-order base of customers from over 40 different states. There are a lot of people in major cities like you'd expect. But there are also just people from all over the country who found this product, super beneficial to them.
This is Jonah Lupton, founder of Jewel and host of the Startup Sense podcast. At Jewel, we help entrepreneurs and startup founders build, launch, and grow their companies by providing superior technology, marketing, and consulting services. We help clients of all sizes, budgets, and industries. We put our clients in the best position to raise capital, grow revenues, hire employees, and maximize their profits. For more information or to set up a free consultation with our team, please visit our website at jewel.net. That's JOOL.net. Were these people actually paying the full price for the sofa, or putting down a deposit, or just giving your email address expressing their interest?
So customers would put down a $95 deposit, and then a couple weeks before we'd ship out, we would we charge them the full amount.
Right.
And they could cancel at any point for a full refund at any point in time.
That's that's a nice way of doing it as an alternative to maybe crowdfunding then.
Yeah, exactly. And we also wanted to communicate that, look, this wasn't, by the time we took pre-orders, we knew we could make the product. In fact, we ended up shipping the first version of it, 15 of them back in August. And so we want to communicate to people that, this is a real thing. It's not going to be a pre-order campaign that you wait 2 years for. And so, we'll take a deposit down to kind of lock it in, but then, we'll charge you the rest later. I will say, we did end up running into delays. Everyone warned us with manufacturing a big physical product with an international supply chain. You're going to run into delays. And we tried as hard as we could, but we ran into them. And that was probably the hardest thing about starting the company, was communicating to customers like, hey, you thought you were going to get your couch on this month. It's actually going to be a month later. And what was even worse was that we had all these compounding delays that happened over time. It wasn't like, oh, here's one month delay. We let everyone know once and then we're good to go. It was like we tell people about a 3-week delay, and then 3 weeks later we'd have some other random thing, like literally anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And so that was really frustrating for us and had to communicate with our customers. But what we found was just staying in, once we figured out the rhythm of just, every week send out a communication, be as honest as possible. I gave people my personal cell phone number and said, if you want to chat about it, happy to chat. And then, most people were fine with it. And it was a pretty interesting experience, getting so much positive support from a lot of our customers who are like, look, as long as this thing doesn't come a year later, we want to support you guys because it sounds like an awesome product. Yeah,
I mean, as long as you're communicating on a somewhat regular basis, I've seen this from the crowdfunding campaigns where the founders kind of go MIA, and people are like, you're supposed to deliver this 6 months ago. Where's my product? I want a refund. And they're kind of the ones that obviously build some negative brand collateral. How much? Okay, so obviously anyone that's putting down a $95 deposit, I mean, that's a very strong thing to buy. What do you think you guys were paying to acquire those people through Facebook and Instagram ads? Any rough idea?
Yeah, it started out pretty high, but we got it down to below $90,
Okay.
which we were pretty pleased about. From speaking with some of the mattress companies, the benchmark that we were given was about 150, 175 bucks.
Wow.
But
Really?
that was for like 1 week shipping on like these like new great websites. We were just taking pre-orders on our like very, janky Squarespace site that we threw together in like 3 days at the beginning of July.
So some of the mattress companies, I mean, Casper's obviously one that comes to mind, but there's, a dozen different knockoffs right now of what Casper is doing. So they're probably paying over $100 to acquire every new customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so you guys launched now on your website. So it says that so obviously 2016 was sold out. Can you give us some updates on 2017?
Yeah, so in 2017, we continued to take some pre-orders, but at some point shut it down. We wanted to prepare for, kind of formally launching the company. Our pre-order phase was to, prove product market fit, get feedback from our early customers, kind of like on messaging and what features resonated with them. And then we wanted to prepare to go into our kind of full scale mode, which was we'd open up a new website, open up real-time orders with 1 week shipping, and we released a couple new colors and different armrest variations for the couch. And so that went live on April 4th, and that's what we started preparing for. So a couple weeks before that, we shut off pre-orders, opened up a wait list, and just went into full-on prep mode for that.
Gotcha. Okay, so the website that I'm looking at right now, highburrow.com, is this the new website?
The new one is burrow.com.
Okay, so burrow.com. So and this shows that you guys have the 2-seater, the 3-seater with 3 different fabric choices. You've expanded that product selection.
Yeah, so now we offer 5 colors. There's the traditional crushed gravel, which is like a light to medium gray. There's beige. There's charcoal, brick red, and navy blue. And then 2 different armrest styles, high and low. And the couch is completely modular. So a 1-seater can be turned into a 2-seater, into a 3-seater, 4-seater, whatever. Yeah, just by adding and buying additional modules later on.
So that's what I learned from my apartment living days, is that going forward, I'm probably only going to buy modular couches, because then you never have to worry about them not fitting down the hallway or pivoting to your apartment or any of that stuff.
Exactly. And I had the thought process of like, I in the past have lived in a tiny studio apartment. And then when I moved to, a real 1-bedroom, I was like, I need a real couch, but like now I got to get rid of this thing after only owning it for 2 years. And so with our couch, you can just order another module, and then you turn a 2-seater into a 3-seater, and you don't have to spend all this extra money.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's huge for the millions of people that live in apartments around the country, and space is a valuable commodity. Now that you guys have expanded the product selection, you've launched a new website. What is your new marketing strategy? How are you guys going to really scale this company up?
So we're trying to just kind of scale it up through word of mouth, by creating a superior product and better experience for people. We're kind of hoping that it catches on and people just tell their friends. We will be utilizing digital marketing and all that, and probably a lot of advertising on podcasts like yours. At some point. I think for us, we want to do a lot of events and just interact with our customers and kind of use that to grow and do kind of like a market by market strategy.
I mean, certainly I would think, an affiliate program at some point might make sense. That's what I've started doing in order to monetize my podcast, is use some affiliate marketing, embed those links into the logos on the homepage, and, help support the startups that not only support our podcast, but, kind of cover our costs along the way. So that might make sense. And then I would think working with some influencers, right? Some like home influencers.
For sure. And another thing that's kind of like a slight twist on that is we are working with a lot of retail stores, co-working spaces, coffee shops, etc. And so we'll put our couches in those locations, and then we'll provide a map on our website, so people can go check that out. And
That's
then,
cool.
yeah, and it kind of we'll drive traffic hopefully to those locations, and then they get a couch, like a very comfortable stylus couch for their place, and maybe customers will buy a cup of coffee while they're there or check out the clothes, if it's a retail store, et cetera. It's kind of like a win-win for us and our partners.
Yeah, that's a really, really good idea. I like that. I mean, I know didn't Casper do something with like the sleep truck that they were driving around the country?
They did, yeah. I think that was pretty successful for them.
Yeah. Oh no,
That
I
was a
think
cool
so too,
idea.
for sure.
But it's like, it's funny, like we had this thought and we're like, what is different about us from every other direct-to-consumer, company that's popped up? And it was like, you can put a couch in public spaces and it's not weird. Like if you just have razors or glasses or a mattress sitting out in a public space, people aren't, what the heck is this?
Now your team is 7 people right now. How are you guys all in one location in New York?
For the most part, we are. So interesting story. My co-founder Kabir and I are both technically still in business school. We are not.
Okay.
We're not really there ever. We're doing these. We loaded up on credits early and are now doing these independent study project credits, working on the company with professors at Wharton to finish out our credits, which has been great. And it's amazing having their support, everything from operations to marketing, et cetera. But we're in New York full time, but one of our employees is still in school, and so he's kind of back and forth between Philly and New York, and then our designer works remotely from Portland.
Now, you guys have raised, or like I said in the intro, I mean, you've gone through a couple of accelerators, so you had some cash from that. I don't know if that cash is still left or not, but you're doing some fundraising right now from some angels. Are there any specific angel groups or angel investors that you are targeting right now? I mean, are you looking to bring on people that have experience in kind of that direct to consumer business?
Yeah, direct to consumer for sure. And then just, we've had some people reach out to us just because they've got some different ideas for things like this. Some of our investors have encouraged us to utilize data scientists to help us with our marketing efforts later on. And there's a lot of really cool, interesting, I think, new things that companies are doing in the direct-to-consumer space. And so just trying to attract people, to us who can help us come up with new ideas and new ways to reach our target audience.
What's been the biggest challenge so far?
The biggest challenge so far, I would say, was dealing with those delays for the pre-orders. Mostly just from the emotional toll it took. I personally enjoy solving new problems and like kind of feeling like I'm learning as I'm becoming an expert in things. And it's so fascinating meeting with all these different companies and suppliers and working with customers and so on and so forth, and building a brand around that. But the hardest thing for me personally was just dealing with communicating delays to people, because it's tough letting people down, especially with something that you've poured so much hard work into. And our mission here is to make people's lives easier with a superior experience. And then if you can't do that, it's tough. But I think ultimately, as customers have been getting their couches, people love them, and so that part feels great, and it makes it all worth it.
What's going to be your strategy with recruiting, and how are you going to find the right talent to bring to the team?
Look, I know I'm biased, but I feel like we're sitting on a rocket ship here. We're solving real pain points in an industry that hasn't been innovated in over 100 years. So, we're pretty bullish on where this thing can go. And I think for Kabir and I personally, we both love consumer brands. It's awesome creating a product that you can actually go out and talk about with people, in everyday life. And so I think being able to work on a brand that is solving real life problems for people in a kind of a fun, engaging, way, it's pretty easy, I think, to get people to want to join that team. And we're going to be doing a lot of really fun things and events and et cetera that will help us better engage with our customers over time. And I think it's pretty easy to get people on board with that.
I mean, I know this is a crazy question as it's so early, but what like, where do you see this company in 3 or 5 years from now?
No, that's we do think about this.
I'm
A
sure the
lot of
investors, right? I mean, it seems like whenever I ask a guest, what's the biggest value your investors bring, and they always say either it's focus or it's to think as big as possible, and that's kind of the 5 year question, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think a lot of direct to consumer companies, just companies in general, they always face this challenge of, do you expand too fast and then risk getting overextended and then having a lot of issues, or do you expand too slow and then competitors pop up all over the place and kind of eat you alive. And so it's about striking that balance between the two. So for us, the couch is the center of the living room. It's the biggest pain point. And that's what we're going to establish our brand around. And I think we want to do that really well, but then very mindfully and quickly expand into other living room products. And then
Okay.
down the road, international expansion for sure. I mean, the same pains in the U.S. exist all over the world. And in fact, even during our pre-order, in the very beginning of our pre-order campaign last year, we got requests from Australia, South America, Europe, Asia, and like literally everywhere. People were like, "Can I buy your couch?" And we were like, "Whoa, let's figure out how to ship these to people in the U.S. first, and before we start shipping all over the world."
I mean, do you ship direct to the consumer right from the manufacturing facility, or does it have to go through a warehouse first?
We work with a shipping partner. There's just a distribution partner, that kind of freight forwards it over the border, and then through them it transitions into regular FedEx and UPS ground shipping. So
Okay.
there is somewhat of an intermediate step, but it's not like a traditional warehouse by any means.
So
It's
this is a
just
good
more to switch hands.
this is a good question because I have so many, I try to get all my friends to start companies, and one of my friends wants to start a swimwear company, one wants to start a cosmetics company, and the list goes on. And they're all like, I don't know where to start. How do I find a manufacturer? And it's a good question. So, how did you guys find your manufacturer?
You really just gotta go out and talk to people. Um, right now I'm reading Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating hearing about when he first met with the Tiger folks in Japan and at their factory, and he kind of just was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and like, let me sort of place an order and see if they'll let me sell their product. And it's kind of similar. Like, we got connected with a lot of people, and frankly, a lot of the manufacturers we first met with politely told us to get lost.
Oh
Peter and
yeah.
I had never made or sold furniture before, and here's two young guys telling them that, hey, we're going to sell more than you've ever sold before, and they're like, you're dreaming, get out of here. But we finally found someone through a connection in business school, and they had a young CEO, and he was super excited to prototype with us and work with us, and we didn't really know what we were doing for a while, but my advice to anyone trying to get into something that requires manufacturing is just go and do it and learn from it. And you're going to know that you're going to make mistakes, know there'll be issues, and you just got to constantly iterate on it and figure out what does and doesn't work, and you'll get it right. But by the time it's big enough that it needs to be right, you'll be at least 75% of the way there, hopefully.
Have you? I mean, I think because I started a supplement company a few years ago, and I went through two manufacturers, and they both kind of screwed me over. So I think there's there's not really like a Yelp for manufacturers. Um, have you seen anything?
No, no,
Any
you're
sort
right.
of
There's not.
review site for manufacturers? I mean, maybe there's not enough manufacturers out there where it would be worth anyone's while to put it together. But I think that's just one of the concerns. It's kind of hard to do your due diligence on these companies.
It is. It is. It's and they're so specific by industry a lot of time. And you're
Right.
right. You can just kind of get screwed over. I think the number one key thing is to have someone on the ground there at all times if you can. And we learned that over time that if we didn't have someone on our payroll on the floor, on the manufacturing floor, we would end up with finding out about delays and issues in the 25th hour. because nobody wants to pass on bad news. No one wants to say, hey, it looks like we're actually going to be a couple of days late. They just hope that they'll make up the time. But by the time you actually get to when things are due, I mean, we had a box supplier in Mexico tell us literally the day they were supposed to deliver the boxes that they would be like 3 weeks to a month late.
And they probably knew it. They probably knew it a month before that.
Oh yeah, and we were like, exactly. How did you not know this until today? Like you haven't even begun production. So how would you have it done now? So it's and for those reasons, it's just important to. It takes a lot of time and effort, but you almost have to like micromanage every step of the process and be as involved as possible, and like almost be super pessimistic. Like people tell you something's going to happen, and like I've gotten to learn that like I don't trust that things are going to happen until after they've already happened.
Right.
Until that point, I just don't believe it.
I think that was my biggest frustration with the manufacturers is, I mean, I know they're going to screw up from time to time, but when you do screw up, at least communicate it to me as quickly as possible, take responsibility, and then try to fix what was broken in the process so it doesn't happen again.
Exactly. And then, but it's hard to do, and especially for something like what we're doing, we're making furniture in a different way, like a different process. A lot of furniture, even today, is kind of made in a custom style format. Stuff isn't mass produced, and so we were changing that for our manufacturer. And the management was great, and they were very open to working with us on that. But it's still just a learning process with general growing pains, and so you've got to work through all that, and it's tough. And obviously, there's money on the line, and when you're this stage, you don't really have a lot of it, and you're trying to be as creative as possible with the finances to figure out a way to get to the finish line. But it's not easy, and it's stressful. But it just takes like constant monitoring as much as possible.
So I'll kind of wrap up on this question. So obviously, any entrepreneur knows there's a lot of highs and lows along the way. So what's been your best day and your worst day so far?
It's a good question. My best day, I would say, there's been a couple of them, and I guess that's kind of a cop-out answer, but for me, the best days are when we get an email or something from a customer where they send us a picture and they're on the couch and they're like, I love this couch. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you exist. Like, otherwise I was going to be screwed with my new apartment or something like that. And whenever we get stuff like that, like no matter what's going on, what's stressful, whatever, like that's the stuff that, makes you keep going and having more and more of those days, we're hopeful we'll have more and more of those days as time goes on, because that's what makes it all worth it. So
Awesome.
My worst day was a very specific day. It was related to that box supplier issue. I was down in Mexico at our factory, and I ended up staying up the entire night. I ordered a bunch of sheets of cardboard from nearby, and I hand cut boxes myself just to get an order out. The factory workers were looking at me like I'm nuts. Like on my hands and knees with an X-Acto knife, cutting out cardboard and folding it. But I was like, guys, we've got to get these out. Like something's got to happen to move this along. That was probably my worst day so far.
No, I mean, I love that. I love hearing those stories because certainly for someone that hasn't started a company, we all, we watch CNBC or we read TechCrunch or whatever it might be, and we see all the glamour and the big valuations and this and that. And I don't think we appreciate, those first couple years, all the down in the trenches, roll your sleeves up and get shit done kind of.
Yeah, it's so true. And there's like you said, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I think people don't even realize. One thing that we are super proud of was that, a lot of major furniture retailers will make you wait 12 weeks for your couch to be delivered after you order it. And so we started the company at the end of April last year, and we delivered our very first couch, albeit it was a prototype, but it was still, a completely functional couch, exactly 12 weeks later. And to deliver it 12 weeks later, I had to check it on a plane from Mexico City to New York City, hopped in an Uber, and delivered it myself to the customer's apartment. And so, it was like from his perspective, he got the couch, but he had no idea. It's not like a very efficient operation having somebody bring it with them by hand all the way from the factory.
Yeah, sometimes the less the customer knows, the better. I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of the whole fake it till you make it mentality, right? I mean, just do whatever you got to do to get the product into the customer's hands.
100%. Nobody wants to know that there was a 50% chance their couch didn't get through customs because I had to convince the customs agent that it's normal to have a couch in a box. Why not?
Oh man, okay, cool. Well, let's end on that. Congrats with the relaunch of the new website and the extended product selection. Really grateful you came on today and talked to us about it. And certainly as things happen, and either you guys raise a big round or whatever the case might be, feel free to come back and tell us about it.
Awesome, for sure. Thanks for having me on, Jonah.
You got it, man. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.